Hi, this is Allison at the River Center Branch Library. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a bee-themed paper cut lantern. If you picked up a kit from the River Center Branch Library, you should have the following supplies. Cardstock cutouts, which were cut on our laser cutter. You'll have a set of flowers, 4 dandelions, some bees, a large cutout of trees, and some grass. You'll also have a sheet of vellum paper, the base of your lantern, an LED Tealight, which sits inside the base, some white Elmer's glue in a container, and Q-tips to apply the glue, as well as some Scotch tape wrapped around a popsicle stick. You will also need a ruler and scissors. We're going to be putting this paper lantern together by building each layer from the inside out. The innermost layer is the vellum. So get your piece of vellum paper and 3 pieces of tape. You'll want to go ahead and pre-cut your tape so that you don't have to do that later while you're trying to put this vellum together. So cut 3 pieces of tape about 1 inch to 1.5 inches long, and get your vellum paper and your ruler. Now the vellum paper should measure about 9.5 inches wide by 8.5 inches tall. So you're going to want to roll it up so that the 8.5 inch sides meet up. And you're going to place your tape along this seam with about 1/4 inch overlap on your vellum paper. Alright, once you've got it taped, we're going to make sure it fits inside of the base. So grab your lantern base, and this piece should fit right around this, right inside of this groove. So just dry fit it, make sure that it fits and it slides over that inner piece. Alright, if it doesn't, just take off the tape and keep adjusting until you can get it to fit. So set that piece aside, and now you're going to get the next piece, which is the flowers, and we'll work on that layer next. Go ahead and cut off 2 more pieces of tape and get those ready to go for this layer. Get your vellum cylinder. And you're going to take your flower layer, and you may notice that some of the one side is going to have some charring on the back. This is from the laser cutter, so you can make sure to put that facing the inside towards the vellum layer so that it's not visible from the outside. Now you're going to wrap it around the vellum cylinder. It doesn't have to be 100% tight. You can have a little bit of space there for it to move. You're going to line up the back and get your pieces of tape and just tape them. Great. And make sure you line up all your seams on the back side. This is going to be the part of the paper lantern that faces back, so you won't really be able to see it. And you can dry fit it again, make sure it still fits in the base. It's looking good. Next, we're going to put on the tree layer. So grab that piece of cardstock. And we're going to do the same thing with this one. Find the side that I want to face front, and it's going to be this side. Now wrap it around and make sure you have your tape ready before you start wrapping. It makes it a little easier. Line up the seam along the back and tape. Now you're going to test it again to make sure it fit. It should, all 3 layers should fit inside of this ridge. Perfect. If they don't fit, just keep on adjusting each layer until you can get them in securely. Alright, now we're going to glue this part of the lantern down into the base. So get your white glue and a Q-tip. And you're essentially going to flood this ridge with the white glue, and then we're going to place this into it and set it aside to dry. So you want to be pretty generous with the amount of glue. Once you've got a decent amount poured in there, then you can just use your Q-tip to move it around. Make sure you cover the entire bottom of that ridge. And you can also get a little bit on the sides. Now make sure you hang on to this. You are going to need a little bit more glue for another part of this project. So set that aside. And get your cylinder. Make sure all the seams are kind of lined up towards one side so that this will be the back side. And just wiggle this into the ridge. Make sure you get it all the way around that inside piece so that all layers of it are going to be touching the very bottom of that ridge. So you may have to wiggle each layer individually. Once you've got all 3 layers inside that ridge touching the bottom, you can take your Q-tip and kind of clean up if there's any overflow. But that's not a huge deal because you're not going to be able to see this. Okay. Next, we're going to add our dandelions. These are the dandelions. They are cut so that they can fit into these slots along the bottom of your lantern. So this is where you're going to need your glue again. So just get a little dab of glue and put it over one of those slots, and then get one of your dandelion pieces and check which side you want to be facing, in or out. This is going to be the inside, and this will be the outside since it looks a little nicer. And just wiggle it into the slot. All right, now you're going to set it aside to dry for a little while because the next step is going to involve moving it around some. So let's let this dry for about 5 minutes. All right, in this next step, after we've let it dry for about 5 or 10 minutes, we're going to attach the strip of grass to the very bottom. And this is just going to hide the base of the lantern and make it look nice. So get your strip of grass, and you will want to have maybe a piece of tape or two handy, already pre-cut, in case you need it to help hold the grass in place while it dries. You're going to need your glue and your Q-tip, and you're also going to want to do a practice fit to see where it lines up. So go ahead and wrap your grass around the base and look at it so it doesn't wrap completely around the entire lantern. So make sure that you find the back half, which this is the back where the seam is. So I'm going to want to start it right about here. And wrap around. So now that I know where I'm going to be starting, I'm going to gently move it over and get your Q-tip and put a generous amount of glue along the edge here. You want to make sure that you get it on the parts that are going to make contact with the strip of grass so that it sticks. And then take a piece of tape, add it to the end of your grass strip. This is just going to help you secure it in place while the glue dries. Get a piece of scrap paper to set this on. Find where you want it to start, line it up with the very bottom, and tape it down just to secure it while it's drying. And get it lined up. And press down on those first 4 inches. And now that you've got it started, you should be able to just keep on adding glue and pushing down on the grass to get it in place until you get all the way back around to the end, where you're going to secure it again with another piece of tape so that it stays in place while it dries completely. And now while that's drying, you can add your bees. So you have 3 sizes of bees in your kit, some smaller ones, medium, and a couple large ones. You may see that some of the bees still have some pieces of paper stuck in them that haven't been popped out completely. So if you want to, you can go through and knock those out. You may need a little toothpick or a paper clip or something to get them, or you might just be able to wiggle them out. And you're just going to need your glue for this step to attach the bees. So you'll just want to try them on different places, figure out where you want them. You can even kind of tuck them like behind the dandelions to make it look a little more 3D. And if you want them to really pop, you can bend the wings out just a little bit so that they look like they're flying off of the lantern. Give it a little bit more 3D aspect. So when you're ready to attach your bees, just put a dollop of glue on the part that's going to be facing inside. Attach it to the lantern and hold it in place for 10 to 15 seconds while it sets. and then add as many or as few of the bees as you want around the lantern. All right, the final step is to add your tea light. So get your LED tea light, switch it on the back, and then carefully drop it into the lantern so that it sits inside of the spot in the middle that it's made for. And then enjoy your lantern.